Gammon is a multiplayer mobile adaptation of the classic game backgammon. Let's start with an introduction to the concepts of backgammon. If you're already familiar with the game, then you can move on to the next video. Backgammon is a two-player game played on a board consisting of 24 narrow triangles of alternating color called points. The triangles are grouped into 4 quadrants of 6 triangles each. The top 2 quadrants are called the home quadrants. Red's home quadrant on the right and black's home quadrant on the left. The lower 2 quadrants are called the outer quadrants. The home quadrants and the outer quadrants are separated by the bar. Each player has 15 checkers of their own color distributed on points around the board. Each player also has a pair of dice that match the color of their checkers. The object of the game is for each player to move their checkers around the board and into their home quadrant and then bear them off the board. The first player to bear off all of their checkers wins the game. The red player moves their checkers counterclockwise around the board, and the black player moves clockwise. Gammon randomly determines the player's color before the game begins, and red always goes first. The game begins by red rolling the dice. The dice rolls determine the number of points the player will move their checkers. Checkers may be moved only to an open position, one that is not occupied by 2 or more opponents' checkers. The numbers on the 2 dice constitute separate moves. In this example, the player rolls 1 and 3. He may move one checker 1 space to an open point and another checker 3 spaces to an open point. Alternatively, he may move one checker a total of 4 spaces to an open point, but only if the intermediate point, either the 1 space or the 3 space from the starting point, is also open. A player who rolls doubles plays the numbers shown on the dice twice. For example, if a player rolls double 6s, then 4 checkers will each move 6 points. After red turn rolls and moves his checkers, his turn is completed and it's black's turn to roll and move. A point occupied by only one checker is open to be hit. If an opposing checker lands on it, the lone checker is removed from the point and placed on the bar. Anytime a player has 1 or more checkers on the bar, their first obligation is to move those checkers into the starting quadrant. A checker is moved off the bar by moving it to an open point corresponding to one of the numbers on the rolled dice. No other checkers may be moved until all the players' checkers are moved off the bar. One important goal of the game is to keep all your checkers covered without leaving any singles open on any points. Once a player has moved all 15 of his checkers into the home quadrant, he may start bearing them off. A player bears off a checker by rolling a number that corresponds to the point on which the checker resides, and then removing that checker from the board. Therefore, rolling a 3 permits the player to remove a checker from a point that is 3 spaces away from the end. If there is no checker at the point indicated by the roll, the player must make a legal move using a checker on a higher number point. If there is no checkers on higher number points, the player is permitted and required to remove a checker from the highest point on which one of his checkers resides. The player is under no obligation to bear off if he can make an otherwise legal move. This covers the basics of the game.